hitting, stopping the ball, knocking those home runs over the wall. East side, west side, everybody's coming down to me.
Head for the park and greet the Mets. Hot dogs, green grass, all out of shade. Guaranteed to have a heck of a day because the Mets are really rocking that ball, hitting those home runs over the wall. In Jersey, Brooklyn, Queens, uptown and down. Let's go Mets! That's the cheer all over New York town. Meet the Mets, meet the Mets, meet the Mets, meet the Mets, meet the Mets. Head for the park and greet the Mets. Hot dogs, green grass, all out of shade. Guaranteed to have a heck of a day because the Mets are really rocking the ball, hitting those home runs over the wall. Long Island, New Jersey, Brooklyn, Queens, uptown and down. Let's go Mets!
Hey everybody, this is the Baseball Hut, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the People's Champion, your host, the Hut, and welcome back. Welcome back, holy shit, to the Baseball Hut. Yes, we're back here live and in color, away from the hellhole of New York City. So everybody's getting all antsy, chomping at the bit to get this live stream started. Let me say hello to the chat. Hello, Gorilla, Richard Zucker. Who else? Davy Jones. Now, before we get this video, hit that like button. There's a lot to talk about. I did not go live last night, but I did have a video up and it did really well. And I, again, can't thank you enough. It did really well. A lot of the regular subs were able to watch that video, and thank you. Usually the subs watch, but then I got a lot of outside people come, but you all came through last night with that video. Well, actually, the Mets did not come through, as they have played very poorly. Now, they won tonight, but I'm not going to sugarcoat. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. Hello, Muttley and Love. I'm not sugarcoating anything, okay? They're 10 games under 500. Okay, and even though Lindor actually showed up tonight, went 4 for 4 in this game, I've seen enough over the last 4 seasons. I don't trust him. And this group, I don't trust them. And I was getting very nervous in that night thing when Reed Garrett came in the game because he's not pitched well over the last. He's not pitched well over the last 10 games or whatever it is. He's pitched rather poorly because he's pitched to his record. I would say that the veterans did come through tonight. You know, Lindor, Pete came in, had a big hit in the late in the game, pinch hit. And obviously Lindor had that tied the game up. But you know, JD Martinez, who really exonerated from all this, crushed the ball in the 8th inning. Hello, Steve Sophia. Exactly. One game does not a season make. Thank God, I would mention, we did not post the emoji tonight, which is the official emoji for this channel and for the Met fans that come here. Let me post the official emoji for our channel so that people know this is how we feel most nights with the Mets. This is the official emoji of the channel, and quite frankly, how we feel most nights. And there wasn't a lot of people in the ballpark last night. Tonight and last night. People are not happy with this ball club. And this thing with Jorge Lopez. I mean, I can go over the game I mean, Christian Scott pitched okay, but again, um, it concerns me greatly that the pitching staff is constantly walking batters, falling behind in counts, um, and nobody blames the pitching coach. The pitching coach has been here for 20, 21, 22, been here for 5 seasons. And that seems to be the thing the Mets are very good at now with him as pitching coaches. Somebody that gets his pitching staff to walk a lot of batters. Unzip my jacket, getting a little warm here, you know. And quite frankly, uh, the season Christian Scott struggled when he first came up here. He was throwing strikes, getting ahead in the count. Now you want to say, the league has caught up with him, but we've seen this act before with this pitching coach. Um, And I'm very surprised and very kind of disappointed did not get rid of him um, this past offseason. But we're stuck with him for the moment. Hopefully, Stearns will come to his senses and get him out of here. But I thought it was interesting. That he wasn't throwing a lot of strikes. He wasn't getting ahead in the count, and that scares me. This is a kid that's been doing this in the minor leagues for the last 2 years. All of a sudden, he gets here and he got here, he was doing that, and now it's sort of is seeping in. You can't tell me the pitching coach doesn't affect. We know the pitching coach is probably the most important, um, coach on your team, especially on a baseball team. So to see that, no one says wait a minute, I'll say it. He's terrible. He's a terrible pitching coach, um, and I would hope that they do something. But like I said, I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. I didn't see anything different in this game tonight. Other than that, we know that the Mets have played rather well against the Diamondbacks. These Mets have been dominating them, scoring tons of runs. But the Diamondbacks, they went to the World Series last year. They're a good young team. They had a terrible injury early in the game, the first inning. Zach Allen came out of the game after 6 pitches. He strained his hamstring. What would that game have been like if he started, if he kept going for the Mets? I mean, I'll give Lindor credit for one game, but we've had 4 years now, 4 seasons where he's shown up very rarely. And they're going to make a big deal out of this today and tonight and a little bit tomorrow, but I've seen enough. I've seen enough of this group. I mean, now tomorrow the Mets are going to send Luis Severino against the Diamondbacks. He'll pitch well. He's pitched rather well since the Mets acquired him. He's a good pitcher, and he can pitch big games. If there's one guy that the Mets will trade before the deadline, it's that guy because he will fetch a lot. He will get a lot for the Mets. But this group, I've seen enough. I can't. I'm not going to be fooled. You can fool me all these other times. I don't know what the other guys are doing. The other YouTubers are saying over their channels, but I've seen enough. I mean, we've seen 50-something games now. 23 and 33 is their record. So it's 56 games. I've seen enough. I've had enough. And I think you all have had enough too of this. And to see the whole ballpark completely deflated through most of this game tonight up until Pete came up. And there was a buzz. Because, a lot of people thought that Pete, including myself, Pete wasn't going to be playing. And he's a tough guy, And the Mets are going to have to make a lot of tough decisions now. Hopefully they pick it up and start playing a little bit better. But when you put yourself in an 11-game hole in May, and you're 16, 17, 18 games behind the first place Phillies, the skunk Phillies, the Ethan Van Sciver Phillies, then there's a problem. And it's not even June 1st, folks. We're not even June yet. We still got one more day till May. I'm not gonna fool myself in what I'm seeing. I'll always be honest on this channel. Now I've been very fair with this group. I wanted this group to do well. I was defending them in the offseason because I didn't think the way they were being talked about was right. But it's a tough situation now watching this group because this group just can't get it done, and the play has gotten worse, if that's possible. Now I know the Clowns at WFN ripped the Mets apart pretty good this morning and today. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy for them, and they wanted this, they got it, and now they're all offended that it's happened. They wanted this all off season, and including Frank Fleming. I would mention about Fleming. For a guy that is a Met fan, why is he throwing out the first pitch at the Milwaukee Brewers home game? Can somebody explain that one to me? You tell me he's not making money off of this insanity? His, autism? The hell's that noise? Oh, some weird noises here. But it's very disheartening to see people making money off of hatred and anger. And I'm not doing that, trying to be positive, and I've been positive. But I will tell you what I think, and I'll tell you what about this group. I was the first YouTuber that went after them last year. I was the first person that really ripped them pretty good last year. So I got that street cred with you folks. I got that street cred with all of you folks because you all know that you'll know I'll say it, and I was right about the team last year. My take now is basically to start moving people. That's what it's going to come down to now. I was going through my list, and I think you all know I write a list in my book. And since the move here, I've been trying to find my old book. I had plenty of notebooks, so I write all my stuff down. And I started out a list. I got about 7 teams that would be interested in Pete Alonso. I got 2 teams that'd be interested in Francisco Lindor. I got a team that'd be interested in Sean Manaea, which I did a video on him the other day, that the Red Sox would be very interested in him. So we're just going to compile a list, including every other player that's going to be on the trade deadline watch. Vladimir Guerrero. Keep an eye on him. For some odd reason, for the last few hours, I was thinking, he's got another year on his contract. And the Blue Jays kind of have a similar problem to what the Mets have. I could see the Mets kind of sending Pete up there to Toronto, and maybe they take on Guerrero Jr. I don't know why. That way they can have a first baseman for here next year and see how well he does in a walk year. And he's young. He's not an old player. It's just a thought. Guerrero says, I heard the Long Island Ducks are interested in McNeil. Guerrero. I make the jokes around here. The chat doesn't. Your host makes the jokes. Yeah, I don't see anything good here that's worth talking about the game, to be honest with you. Like I said, the Mets have played well against the Diamondbacks over the last year and a half. And there's really nothing to sort of discuss in terms of, well, this happened in the game, that happened in the game. But most importantly, if you want to get serious about the Mets, they have to get back to 500. But now that they've gotten so far behind, it is going to take them over a month, folks, over a month to break even. And that's June, and they had a lousy June. Gonzalo Cousins says, package Alonso with McNeil. Well, it's funny you should mention. I have McNeil on my list. We know that the Mariners have liked him for a long time. Quietly, the Mariners have been sort of mentioned. I know that Ball Cap Sports has done videos, and I've done a video myself, discussing all these different places that Pete could go. Let me and McNeil. Hold on a second. Let me get my list. And I'll read you some of the teams. I'll have a separate video on Pete. Hold on a second. Now, in the meanwhile, please, of course, if you're coming through the first time, hit the subscribe button. If you want to participate in this live stream, and hit the like button and say hello. Say hello to your host. Be nice to the chat. Let's see. All right, so I got my list here. As you know, I go through the list. See, I'll show you my list. See, these are some of the names, and I write this down. I'm such an old fart, you know. So I like to write these players' names down so I can read it to you and have it on the side because I'm like losing like data on my phone on my computer. It's terrible. So I don't want to add that on there. But I got about 7 teams for Pete Alonso. Kansas City, I've heard them. Minnesota, the Mariners, the Cubs as always, San Diego, Houston, and the Blue Jays. Kansas City has a good farm system. I don't know what you could get for Pete. If you're going to make a trade for Pete, you better ask for one piece and one big piece. You probably have a better chance. You probably have a better chance of getting something good in return if you ask for one player in their minor league system. Seattle, I'm not sure about that farm system. The Cubs have a good farm system because they've been bad for the last few years. San Diego, though, we hear this sort of thought that they have a bad farm system, but they always seem to produce good players. Houston doesn't have a good farm system. If I were to trade him there, I'd have to have their number one prospect, which the Mets did last year with Gilbert and the Blue Jays. I think a 1-for-1 swap for Pete for Guerrero would be okay. I could live with that because then I can keep Guerrero there for next year. Then you're not ripping this whole. Here's the thing. The problem with this Mets ball club now is because they played so poorly, and I've said these in videos. They played so poorly, this affects next year's plans. Because Cohen has said that he wants to be a player in the free agent market. They said that they'd taken a year off to evaluate this ball club, to give Stearns some time to figure out what kind of guys he has here. And this really affects this club next year because if you decide, and I would do this, I would get rid of everybody the way this group is. I'm sick of looking at them. I'm sick of looking at this group. And that includes Pete. I love Pete as a player. But this group has to go. And I hate having to do that. And it would bother the hell out of me that I would have to do that. But sometimes you got to do it. And, of course, you'd have the offseason to do it. I'm watching the Rangers game. The Rangers are losing to the Panthers. Oh, great. Thanks, Joe Beningo, for coming back and going on the radio. Francisco Lindor, I got 2 teams for him. The Dodgers and the Giants. Obviously, you'd have to eat a lot of money. You have to eat a lot of money on his contract. To be honest with you, that's a lot of money to eat. Does Cohen want to do that? Does Cohen want to give up a player that they're kind of emotionally attached to? The ownership's emotionally attached to him. His wife is emotionally attached to him. I don't know. And he's got no trade clause. But if the Mets come to him and said, we want to send you somewhere else, we want to do something different, I don't think he'd give them that too much of a hard time. It's a very difficult decision with him because of the years. And it basically says that was a mistake. And I thought it was a mistake when they made that deal. Was not a very good. It wasn't a very good signing. The trade was fine. They didn't really give up much, as it turns out. But in terms of, having him here long term is a disaster. It's not. It's just not working out. Now I will dig through, and I got all these names here. Edwin Diaz, who's injured. I knew he was injured for a good portion of the season. I know he said that arm was bothering him on Saturday, but I'm sorry. Seeing how he wasn't throwing hard and he didn't seem like he was really airing out, that seemed to be an issue. I'd trade him. Adam Ottavino is going to get traded. Harrison Bader, keep an eye on. Adrian Hauser, Starlin Marte, even though he's got another year's contract. JD Martinez is going to get moved. They can find somebody to pick him up. Jose Quintana, Luis Severino, Sean Manaea, Jake Diekman. I mean, these are guys that could get moved. And some of these guys, I don't know what the value of a lot of these guys are. But Severino would be certainly a guy that you could get a lot for. Because he's an ace-like pitcher. He's pitched in big games. And he's pitched really well. He's pitched really well for the Mets this season. So that's a different story, Now, please like this video if you haven't already, and hit the subscribe button. I will have plenty of stuff for you over the next couple of days. Tomorrow, certainly. I'll certainly have a video for you tomorrow. Probably talking about Pete. I'll have it up early, but I have to get up early to do it. And there might be a live stream tomorrow night. There might be, there's definitely going to be a live stream on Saturday. Definitely a live stream on Sunday. We'll see about the next week, but that's the plan so far. But so tomorrow, Severino goes for the Mets. Saturday, we see Darryl Strawberry's number get retired. It's about time. Same thing about how it was with White Gooden, that his number got retired. That was great a month and a half ago. It's too bad these guys are so old. I mean, hold on. I mean, it's too bad that Darryl's old, because then you can put him in right field. Hold on, you drink. Look. Richard Zucker says Sevy needs to give more length. Well, you know what? The way baseball is, a team that picks him up is going to have a good bullpen. And if they have a good bullpen, it's not going to matter much. The innings that he's been putting out are quality innings. He's been fine. I don't think that's that big of a deal, Richard. To be honest with you. That's for sure. I don't think that's been an issue. He's been very good, to be honest with you. But let me run down a little bit more. Now, in the meanwhile, of course, this has been a very drama-filled week. And now we know that Jorge Lopez is a lying skunk. And I say that because he lied to the press when he told the press that he had not talked to Mendoza and he had not talked to Stearns. Had not talked to Stearns and had not talked to Mendoza after the game last night. And he lied. He basically said he didn't. He'd been flip-flopping like crazy because he knew he screwed up. And then, I wasn't sure if he said that he was the worst teammate or it was the worst team in MLB that he said. And then when the media asked him, do you mean team or teammate? He's like, yeah, probably both. He knows what he said. Everybody knows what he said. But that's not why he got basically, sent off to the Phantom Zone. He got sent off to the Phantom Zone because of how poorly he reacted in that ninth inning, or eighth inning it was. Screaming at the umpire and untucking his shirt and throwing his hat on the ground and throwing his glove up in the air. I mean, and the amazing thing is he's pitched well. I was talking to somebody at work today. And I said to him, I can't believe that he had a meltdown like that. He's pitched really well. But then again, it sort of explains why this guy's bounced around. Been with the Marlins, the Orioles, the Twins, the Brewers, and a few other places. He's bounced all over the place. So it explains a lot of stuff with him. I mean, we don't want people that are going to be, complaining. But at the same time, Tommy Pham said this was the laziest positional player team that he's ever been on. That's two guys now in the last year that have said there's something wrong with that clubhouse. Now, Tommy said that he had respect for Lindor, Nimmo, and Alonso. And we know that some of the guys that Mets had on the team last year were lazy. We know some of them. Vogelback was a disaster. Guillermo was a disaster. The fact that Narvaez is still here is amazing. And he said that team had no drive, no desire to win and play hard. And isn't that interesting? And now we have a second player who's been a veteran player, who's been on bad teams. I mean, he's been on some really bad teams. And Jorge Lopez. And to see him come out and basically rip the Mets after the game, after one of the worst performances, and probably one of the worst days we've seen here in a long time with the Mets. With Diaz being put on the injured list, half hour later, Pete getting taken out of the game. The Mets come back, fighting back, and then the bullpen completely collapsed at the end of this game. And then he has a meltdown and screams at the umpire, gets thrown out, throws his mitt into the stands. And to see this sort of meltdown, and then him coming out after the fact, after he talked to his boss, his two bosses, the guy that basically interact with him every day, basically said, who knows how his attitude was. They decided right then and there they were getting rid of him. They told him that. But then he comes out and lies. He's such a strange guy. And he looks like a strange guy. He looks like a little weird, isn't he? The other day he gave up a home run. He was smiling, laughing. I was like, what's wrong with this guy? I didn't mention it at the time, but I was like, why is he laughing? Hey, this shit ain't funny, sucker. And I was not too pleased that the Mets brought him in. Because I know his reputation with the Orioles, how badly he pitched. But you have to take into account some of the things that's going on around this team. Jeremy Berman says yesterday was the 11th birthday of his son. Was very okay. Well, I'm sorry for that. I noticed that the Boomer again had to apologize. Huh? Jeremy says his behavior becomes a little more understandable when you consider the mental pain he's in. Okay. But I saw that Boomer Esiason apologized. I'm not saying anything about him as a person. This is as a professional. Okay. There's a lot of people that go through a lot of stuff, and they're very professional in their business and their jobs, and they don't take it out on other people. So there's a lot of people that are going through a lot of stuff, and they don't act like this. They don't take it out on other people. That's all I have to say about that. But I'm not talking about him as a man, as a father, as a person. This is not about that. It's nothing personal, only business. I don't worry about those kinds of things, to be honest with you. This is all business. It's nothing personal. Nothing personal. Old man Hud told me there's nothing but business, nothing personal. And that's how I always talk about the players. Let me read you just a couple of quotes. It's from Lindor from tonight. Vibes are the most important thing on a daily basis. You got to be optimistic. You got to be upbeat. You got to stay in a state of mind where you believe you can do anything. Okay. He's saying things that we all know. We all know that, asshole. What have you been doing for 4 years, for 4 seasons? We know this. This is from JD Martinez. The pressure's on everyone else right now. Let them have it. If we lose, we lose. They already think we're the worst in baseball. Yeah, I'll tell you, Martinez, he nailed it around the head. This is Christian Scott. I was not too happy with the start that Christian had. He's got great stuff. He looks like he's going to be a guy that's going to be in this rotation a long time. But I was not too pleased with the way he pitched tonight, to be honest with you. I know he gave up 2 runs in this game, but I was not too happy with the way he's pitched. And I'm very concerned that he's starting to walk too many batters and falling behind in the count. With him, he's more like falling behind in the count. And his pitch count was very, very high in the 3rd and 4th inning. This is what he had to say after the game. I'm confident in my work and routine. Nito and Narvaez, they've called great games, so I've been back there just riding their wave. Just got to do a better job getting ahead. But again, we see that, again, the sort of, drifting back once these guys get to the majors. It's a concern. I'm concerned. That's the one thing I'm really concerned about with this pitching staff is this pitching coach. And you should be too, folks. I wouldn't tell you otherwise if I didn't feel that way. That's the one thing I'm very honest about. If I tell you what I think, take that shit to the bank. If there's something to be concerned about, don't like that pitching coach one bit. Now, please, of course, like this video and hit the subscribe button. So Rangers are losing now 2-1 with 4 minutes to go. This is not good. This is what Pete had to say. Pete, this is from SNY. Pete says he wasn't a part of the Mets team meeting yesterday because he was in the hospital getting imaging on his hand. Quote, from what I heard from the guys, everything's day to day. We're going to try to go 1-0 every day. We're just going to be ultra focused. Well, really, Pete? This is what they've been talking about for 4 years. The same mumbo jumbo stuff that we all know. That's how life is. Take it a day at a time. That's life. I mean, and I don't take this idea that, well, Lindor went 4 for 4. He's showing real leadership. Leadership's not 4 for 4. Leadership's over the course of a month and a half, 2 months, carrying the team. Talk is talk. Talk is cheap. And we've seen enough from him, and we've seen enough from this group. And I don't like this idea that they're all saying that Lindor is their captain. He's not a captain I'd ever want to follow. Sorry. I've seen enough of him. Captain is a guy that does it every single day. He is your best player. He's your best hitter on the field. And he is not. Even 2 years ago, he wasn't. McNeil was the Mets' best hitter 2 years ago. Jeremy Berman says Nimmo's concerned. Here's the thing about Nimmo, Jeremy. He's batting third now. So his approach is a little bit different than he was batting leadoff. He is swinging and missing a lot more balls. He's not taking so many pitches now. I think if he kept that approach, he probably would do just as good of a job as any other 3-hitter. But I think the strikeouts is very concerning because his approach is different. But I know where you're coming from. That's for sure. I mean, that's a concern of mine as well. I mean, I'm not too concerned, but you know what? Everything is a concern at this point. I mean, everything is a problem right now. Nothing's working. Nothing is working at this point. Now Lopez is out of here. He's just the beginning. He will be just the beginning of this group just being out of here. Like I said, and now we're hearing rumblings that the Mets are more thinking about moving Pete, that they would move Pete at some point, which doesn't surprise me now because they've played so poorly. They have to start thinking about doing stuff like that. It can't be a situation now where they sort of drag their feet. They got to really start looking at it. Got to start looking to see what the Mets can get for Pete because now the 10 games on the 500, they've had a terrible May. He's a free agent. And how do you carry on without him? How do you do certain things? Now the Rangers are losing 3-1. Yeah, they're losing this game. This is great. Oh boy. All right, let me get out of here. But yeah, so tomorrow I'm going to try to do a live stream after the game tomorrow. We'll see. I'll be out tomorrow, and definitely have a live stream on Saturday, and we'll talk about Darryl Strawberry a lot. And of course, we'll be back again on Sunday. We'll try to get you folks on to do a subscriber Sunday. Meant to do it this past week, but kind of got a little delayed. And one of my guests I was going to have on, he told me that if he couldn't come on at a certain time, he wasn't going to come on. I tried to get him on Monday. He couldn't make it. This was fine. He's just a friend. He's just a friend from the other side. Ian Courier says, Pete's great, but he's not going to get much better. I'd rather go for the prospects. I can understand that. Welcome, Ian. You're new. Welcome. Welcome to the YouTube channel known as the Baseball Hut. And let me sort of introduce you to my chat here. Thank you. It is, you're not going to get a lot for Pete. If you're going to make a trade for Pete, you want to do like a 1-for-1 deal. Get the best prospect of a team's farm system. And instead of getting like 3 or 4 guys that don't make it, you get one good guy, you get one good player for him, and see where that takes you. That's what you have to do. That's what the Mets have to do. That's my advice coming up in the near future. because before we know it's going to be July 30th, which is the trade deadline. It's Tuesday. So that's going to be a big day. And I will try to be on live during the trade deadline. I'll be able to do it here at the new baseball hut. Because here at the new baseball hut, I have Wi-Fi in the house. It's now 2024. I don't have dial-up anymore. I had dial-up until about 10 years ago in the old baseball hut. I remember my boss used to talk about it. He used to laugh about it. Then one year he asked, "You still got dial-up?" I was like, "Yeah." And then I told him I didn't have it. He couldn't stop laughing. But yeah, so we're going to continue to talk about this team as we do on a regular basis. I'll try to make it as fun as I can. This is tough stuff, and then to see the drama that we had last night, where Lopez flips his glove into the stands. I should have brought my glove out here and show you how he did it. Throwing over the house. That's a hard throw. He really tossed that pretty high. That's a high net. But they acted real swiftly. They got him out of here. They didn't play around, which is a good sign because that's kind of some of the tests that an organization has to go through as a player that's out of control. And he was out of control last night. That's for sure. Well, I'm going to end the live stream here because obviously the Mets won tonight, so there's really nothing really to complain about, other than sort of just go over what happened last night and what the future holds. To be honest with you, but the team, they'll play better in spots, they'll play worse in spots. This is who they are. The 10 games under 500, they're on pace to lose 96 games. It's tough. But anyway. Thank you for watching this live stream. I appreciate the time you take to watch. Be back again hopefully tomorrow, and we'll talk about the Mets again. And we'll be back on Saturday and Sunday, and I have plenty of videos for you on here, and of course some shorts. And I can't thank you enough. Have a good night, and I'll see you later.